Hello again. My name is John, and I am a nobody. This week, we're off to the Baltic. In the old days, the the days before it had changed into what it is now. So, excuse me if you're looking disheveled again. I had another gig at the weekend. In the old days, before the introduction of the euro, they had countries which were able to control their own borders. They had borders, they had their own currency, and I wanted to take you there. So there are three Baltic countries, and they're called Latvia. God, I had to write them down. I forget them all the time. Lithuania and Estonia. So Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, each independent countries. We've been attached, or rather attacked, by bandits in Poland, which was first time for me. And we just pulled into a lay-by, and it was very quiet and dark, and suddenly all these figures appeared from the surrounding trees and ran towards the van, which was a Volkswagen, and had a sliding door. And we just all jumped in there into the sliding door and drove off with the bandits running after us. It was quite a harrowing experience. Anyway, as I said, countries had borders then, so we drove up to the first border we had to cross, and there was a huge line of cars and vehicles, lorries and stuff, waiting to get in. And our intrepid driver just drove past them all and pulled up to the little border post, which in those days was like you see on the cartoons. You know, sometimes it just had a little tree trunk thing which you could move up and down, and a little shed next to it with the person in it. And he moved up and just drove past all the other vehicles and gave the man in the little box passports. I think he'd done it before, because in the first passport he'd put 10 marks, which was the German currency at the time. And that was a lot of money for that man. So he took it, stamped our passports, and let us all in. We were on our way to the Ukraine. It's another how base will travel story. And we were supposed to be taking part in this competition. Everybody knew who the winner was going to be. I'll tell you later, maybe. And we were supposed to be representing the UK, though there were only two Brits in the band. Paul, our intrepid leader, and myself. We had a keyboarder from Ireland who I called T-Towel, because he always had something on his head, you know, a little scarf thing. And we had an American drummer called Artur, who we christened the Blom. And he played a Slingerland kit. He had a deal with Slingerland. And our driver was amazing. He was German and a gentle giant. He was enormous. People would stop him on the street and ask to take a photo of him because he was so big. He'd walk through like any old doorway, and he'd have to bend over to get through. He was that big. So we were driving along the road. Either side were just women. They're called sex workers today. It was very weird. We stopped at a buffet. Well, it was a proper do in Latvia, with populated by the local politicians and a lot of very attractive waitresses, who I later found out were all cool girls. It seemed to be a massive business there. And when I went to Moscow with Nikki years later, it was very much the same thing. The same beautiful women standing around, and they're all cool girls. You know, it was very strange. I'd never seen cool girls before. Maybe I was just naive. Anyway, we went to venture through all these, for us, strange countries. And sometimes you'd be on a road and it would just sort of peter out, and it would become a track, and the track would become kind of a lane. And then the road would stop and it would become this gravel path which you'd be driving along. There were discarded Russian military vehicles to be seen. We saw a tank that had just been left there. It was too modern to have been involved in the Second World War. They just left it because it had probably broken down, I don't know. It was another world back then, a very strange world. And this whole thing with, you know, paying for services for certain women was quite new to me. I'd never seen it, that many people who were dependent upon, you know, that kind of activity. We got to one small restaurant and had something to eat, and we were still using the German currency, the Deutschmark, because they had not adopted the euro then. They had not been asked, of course, if they wanted the euro, they just got it. They had a referendum in Lithuania whether they wanted to keep their own currency or adopt the euro. And they overwhelmingly voted against adopting the euro, but they got it anyway. That's how things work. But we'll stay off of politics. So we were in this little restaurant, and it was so cheap. We all had whatever we wanted to eat, and it was dirt cheap. And then we came to pay, and we decided to leave a small tip for the waitress, and we did. And she took the money, the Deutschmarks, and was offended because the tip was too big for her. It was like a week's wages, and she thought that we were trying to buy her, which we weren't. We were just being polite and friendly. It was very, very strange. It was a completely different time, and it's not long ago, you know, it's not long ago at all. So I just wanted to remind you of that, what it was like back in the olden days when the world was still young. And I hope you managed to glean something of it. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself and those you love. All the very best. And Tschüssikowski. See you then.